Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of Parenting Autism. My name is Sandy Coulter. I am your host today, joined by my hubby, Chris.
Hello, that's me.
Yes, and today we're going to talk a bit about repetitive questions. We're going to go a little deeper into that because that's kind of what's at the forefront in our home for the past few weeks since we've last recorded. But we're going to talk about some other things that have happened in the past 3 weeks. I think it's been since we've been on here. And let's just kick off with some fun stuff about your recent adventure to Appalachian Trail.
I like fun stuff. We didn't talk about that last time. I guess that
we
was
said you were
before
going.
We were going. Well, I went. So it
Just
was.
give us some highlights.
Highlights was we did a section of the trail from the Pennsylvania line, 25 miles into Maryland. I carried a backpack about 40 pounds worth of stuff, including my tent and food and, I don't know, water.
I'm just amazed that you packed all of that and had to carry 40 pounds on your back.
Yeah.
In addition to going up hills in the mountains.
Yeah. So I was hiking locally in Florida before that, but as you know, Florida does not have any hills.
No, except the dump. That's our famous hill around here.
The dump,
right?
yes, the landfill.
The landfill.
And so I was preparing for the trip, and I never did fully pack my pack for this particular trip before I went. I went on a hike here locally with most of what I needed in my pack to get a feel for it, and I was hiking about 8 miles in a day. But when I got to my brother's house, which was our kicking off point in Maryland, I got everything in there and I picked it up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not sure that this is going to go so well.
Yeah.
And I think the other 3 high school buddies that went with me, childhood friends actually, I don't think they were prepared either. And so it was fun. We hiked, how many miles the first day?
You said 12.
12 miles the first day.
That was your longest stretch.
Yeah, that was a long stretch. Uphill and downhill. We went up and down mountains, and it was mostly rocky. And it was fun. We didn't really get to chat much until we got to camp, but we were so exhausted at camp, you know. But we drank out of streams. We packed in our own food, and I slept in a tent. They slept in hammocks. It was really a great time that I'll never forget, and I'm paying for it with my feet right now, but...
We did mention your feet in episode 43. We had asked for prayers for your feet. I don't think this helped your feet.
No, it didn't.
I
was just determined to do this because I didn't want them to hold me back, and I was more mad at my feet, and I was like, you know what, I don't care, I'm doing it, and so now... There's a torn tendon and it really hurts, but thankfully it's not broken. My foot went down between 2 boulders and I thought it was the end of the trip for me on day 2, but got my foot out, it still worked, and we trekked on, and by day 3 I probably shouldn't have been walking on it, but I had to make it out of the woods.
I know, right? Which we're glad you did. It has been interesting, but we're getting you some help, so we'll continue to ask for those prayers for your feet.
Yes.
But we're glad you had an awesome trip.
It was great.
So from a parenting autism perspective, you were gone for 5 nights. And
yes.
That's the first time that you've been away from me for 5 nights, and it's definitely the first time you've been away from Bryce for 5 nights.
Sure.
How did that feel, being away?
Well, I was so focused on the task at hand and not twisting an ankle and getting up and down mountains that my mind really didn't go there until maybe like when we made camp, because the hike itself was so difficult and intense that you had to be
focused.
laser focused. most of the time. So I probably subconsciously felt some relief of not having Bryce 24/7, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know.
It's a good question,
I just
right?
don't. I missed both of you, of course.
Of course.
But
did you find it refreshing in the sense, and it's not to hurt anyone's feelings, it's being human. I mean, not having that constant responsibility or having to be constantly aware of where he is and what he's doing. Could you feel that relief?
yes, I think more so when we got to camp and I didn't have to know where Bryce was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I do get that because I've gone away for 1 to 2 nights. And there is some sense of relief that comes with that, which is why we're encouraging ourselves to have these little times to get away. It's like a recharging experience.
Yeah, I think at the end of the hike when we all got extracted,
I know, you crack me up when you describe it that way. Like as if someone booted you off.
like Bear Grylls. So we had a chance, all of us, to catch up at the end of the hike, and we had a lot of laughter. And I think laughter heals a lot of things, and it definitely it relieves you of burdens when you laugh. I can't explain it, but I just felt a sense of great happiness and relief that A, the hike was over, B, I was catching up with friends, and C, the laughter was relieving.
Yeah. And you got to spend time with your brothers. And again,
Yes.
you know, we know from parenting any child, but definitely when you're parenting a child who has special needs and autism, like Bryce, it takes a lot of yourself to take care of them. And you can lose yourself in the process, and you can lose just that sense of doing something for yourself in the process.
Yes, I mean, I'm a musician. It's in my blood. And I can tell you that I have not had any creativity, and this goes for photography as well, is I have not felt any creativity as far as music goes or photography in a long, long time. And I think that's because my brain is half on Bryce. Mm-hmm. You know, where is he? What is he doing? Is he safe?
What can I do for him?
You know,
how can I help him? We're always planning.
Or he's always asking for help with something. Mm-hmm. So that was a relief not to have that temporarily.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of subconscious stress.
Yeah. And I don't think, like when I went away, I didn't realize how tangible it could be when I heard peace and quiet. Mm-hmm. Like I remember when I went away last year to the spa for 2 nights, and I laid on the hammock in the hammock by the water, and it was so quiet, and I needed that. Like I didn't realize how much I missed that until I had that. Yeah. And then I was recharged and very ready to come home and do it again. But having that break was really good. And while we've been getting some, alone time for ourselves, that's been nice in the past year. But I think it's also important for you to be able to have that time with your brothers or with your friends, that sort of thing as well, where you can really just be away. Now, 5 nights is a long stretch, so I'm not saying I want you to do that every time.
Yeah.
But on this end, I will speak to my end of you being gone for 5 nights and parenting autism. It really went okay, which is great. And you were gone from a Thursday until a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And so we had some therapies scheduled in there. He didn't have any of his language or OT because it was Memorial Day weekend, and he only has it Monday through Wednesday. So he didn't have that, but he had his ABA a few days, and he had his equine and music therapies. So those kept us in a routine, which was good. And then we went and visited Mama and Papa, on one day. And then that Sunday, I didn't want to do anything because I needed some rest, as well. And so he and I just hung here at home and we did stuff, which was fine. And he's all obsessed with the game Sorry now. So we played Sorry a lot, and we played Uno, and we played games, and it was great. It was me and him hanging out and playing together. And, we would take our own breaks with certain things, but it was really good. And as far as our concern, like how he would be without you for 5 nights, we were hoping that, as it's worked in the past when I've gone away for 2 nights, is that if we told him, okay, you're leaving on this day and you'll be back on that day, that he would be okay in between. And he really was. I mean, even he was totally fine. He didn't ask about you. I heard him say a couple things about you, like randomly, which was good, but he didn't cry for you. He wasn't upset that you were gone, which helps tremendously. And then when it was Monday and I knew you were going to be coming home the next day, then I began the conversation of, okay, we're going to go to the airport tomorrow. We're going to get Daddy. When we went to bed that night, that's all he could talk about. He was very much thinking about it on that night. So it really worked out well. And we've just learned with Bryce, and I'm sure it may be different with every child, but with him, the more you prep him, he just takes it in and he can shelve those emotions. And then when it's time, he's excited and he's ready for what's to come on that day.
I think when I came back, I could tell that you guys had an even stronger bond than you did before I left. And I think it's because that you engaged 100%. With him a lot more while I was gone. And I mean, he already loved you to death, but I mean, he is just kissing on you and hugging on you all the time. And it's very special. It's still going.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of me working from home. So I've been with him a lot more. And then with you gone, it was me and him joined at the hip for 5 days. That was, a long time for just the two of us. So yeah, it was good.
And one other point I want to make about the hike is I'm reflecting back on when I did my practice hikes here in Florida. And that would take me, I don't know, 4 hours maybe to go do those hikes and then come back home.
Yeah, about roughly. That time. Yep.
But I will tell you that when I was doing that, I think that almost equated to the same amount of relief that I felt being gone 5 days, because when I hiked here, I would just hike so far, it would be so quiet, and when I was done, I was exhausted. And I think when you're exhausted like that, you get to relax. It's hard to explain, but it's almost like exercising. When you exercise to the point of exhaustion, you can't be worried about things. You can't be upset about things because you've exerted all of your energy into whatever that thing was that you were doing. So in turn, it relaxes you. It almost forces you to relax.
Well, I think it's like stress reliever because, like you said, you're exerting everything. And your mind is in different places and you're able to think and concentrate on other things.
Right.
It's just all good. And we all got to find what that thing is. I will tell you, hiking, especially with a backpack on me, would not be my solution.
Right.
But for you, that works. And everybody's got something that brings them that kind of peace. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what it is, you should start thinking about it and go back in your life pre-autism, a lot of things, to even when you were younger, or, make that connection to something that once upon a time brought you peace. For me, I love to travel. I've always loved to travel. There's something about going to new places, seeing new things. I love it. And it brings me a lot of joy and peace, doing all of that. I'm glad you and Bryce enjoy that too. And of course, we came to a point where we couldn't do that for a while because it was very, very difficult to travel with Bryce. And financially, it wasn't making any sense. But we've been able to just make that a priority because there's so much return that we get from it for all three of us.
Yes.
So we'll sacrifice other things to be able to travel somehow, some way. And I'm glad that we've reconnected with that, because I do think I personally feel a lot of renewal, emotionally, physically, everything. I just really, really enjoy that. So
awesome.
But everybody's got to find that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's been a big highlight for the past, few weeks, what's been going on around here. And then socially, we have finally decided to reopen the door on a very slow pace to socialize with selective friends again. With this whole COVID social distancing, it wasn't happening. But we know the importance for Bryce to have social interaction and to learn how to interact with friends. And actually, we changed his ABA program. And so most of his behavior plan is about socializing.
Yeah.
And so without it, he was just kind of doing the same things over and over again. And it's nobody's fault. It was just, that was all that was left on the plan. And I understand they have to work the plan. So I'm like, well, let me see if I have any friends that now with school is ending, so they're not homeschooling, and, people are ready to get out of their house. So the ones that I reached out to were more than happy to come over. And again, we're keeping it where it's only one family at a time. They're coming to our house, so we have the controlled environment. I'm doing that too because I noticed when we took Bryce to the playground, it was a much bigger place, people that he didn't know. He was getting distracted. He wanted to, take interest, but I don't think it was as effective. So I think that's something we'll work toward, but we're starting on a smaller scale now with him. Mm-hmm. And so we have been able to have some friends over. I've been sharing posts of that on the Parenting Autism Facebook page and a couple of things on Instagram. Problem with Instagram is they limit your videos to 1 minute. And I feel like sometimes that's just not enough to get the message. So yeah. I'm more of a Facebook person than an Instagram person for that very reason. And I think that videos are more effective to share our world than just pictures, because you can hear Bryce, you can see Bryce, you can see his motions, his movements. You can just learn so much more about him than you can from a photo. Photos can be deceiving, as we know. From photographers, you can catch somebody's best moment, but you don't know what happened right before or right after that.
Right.
But I think videos are a little more real and in touch. And so I've been happy about this. And then we've had tons of rain where we couldn't play outside. And then, of course, there's friends that I have scheduled, and then they have to reschedule for one reason or another. So I decided on Saturday, when we had somebody that had to reschedule, that we, being me and Miss Melanie, who is his ABA tech, we would work with Bryce on his social skills by using his Thomas the Friends trains, because they have faces and they have names. And also he has some of the vehicles from the movie Cars. So he has like Lightning McQueen and Doc the Sheriff, and he's got several of them. And he's just started watching those movies, so now he knows their characters and they have names. So it's a little different than a Matchbox car that doesn't have a name or a personality. Right. This is like little friends. So
I would say before this, he had very limited pretend play.
Very limited. Yeah, definitely proceed with that, because that's a given. In fact, I said, was this on his plan before? And Melanie said it was, but they were trying to do it with stuffed animals, and they had on there to use dolls, but Bryce doesn't have dolls, so we had tried stuffed animals. I think they found it easier with girls than boys, but with boys, I'm like, hey, we got the trains, they have faces, they have names. So anyway, we went down that route. And I had also bought this book that's teaching me how to teach the skills of playing. And Bryce, we're going to say to him, hey, go out and play with these friends. But if he doesn't understand the concept of the game tag,
right,
how can you expect him to go out and play that? And he's not going to learn on a whim like other kids do.
Right.
Like, he really needs to learn and understand it.
It's almost like he'll learn something and then he forgets the next time what he learned the last time. So repetition is key with him. I think doing those types of things over and over, and then it eventually clicks.
Especially when it comes to social, because his mind trap, he's a mind trap with so many other facts.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things that are not factual, yeah, that's where he doesn't retain it as much. So we did that on Saturday, and for 2 hours, we did a lot of interacting with him. We did I'm going to share some so people can kind of get ideas if they need this. But so first we did red light, green light. So I had 4 of his little trains lined up, and then we had a train on the other end. And so I would let him do it, or Miss Melanie would do it, and we'd call out the red light or the green light, and then the other trains were going toward the finish line. And he was getting that concept. And even though he knows that game, it was good for him to see that. And then on top of him understanding the concept of the game, we were trying to also demonstrate how conversations go when you're playing. So Melanie and I would pretend to be whatever character we were and try to have conversations, and then try to ask Bryce questions to bring him into the conversation. So when she recorded her data, we were in agreement that for the first 40 minutes, he was probably still lost and not quite participating with us. He was excited. He was so excited that we were in here playing with him, but he wasn't getting the concept of like interacting with us.
Right.
And
making
then,
the characters talk.
Yeah. And then we switched from red light, green light to tag, and we created a safe space, for the base. And then we were chasing. So,
Chasing with the trains.
Chasing with the trains. Thank you. And so, then I would try to talk to him. So if my train was chasing him, then I would be like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And then when he was chasing me, I would be saying, don't get me. Don't get me. Well, now he knows to say that. Now, if he goes plays with his friend, he's probably going to say it just that same way. Don't get me, because Bryce is very literal and repeats. Yes. But at least he's getting the concept of, okay, I can say something while we're playing. And I have to be careful, because I could have this tendency to, I don't want to say talk trash, but you know how you say, hey, I got you, while you're playing. But whatever I teach him is what he's going to do. So yes. I want him to play well, but also play nice. But anyway, so we had fun with that. We did tag. And then we went to hide and seek. You would think that would be basic, because we worked on this for years. Mm-hmm. But when I said to him, do you want to hide or do you want to seek? He says, what is seek? So I'm like, well, seek is where you're looking for the person. And then hide is where you go hide. And so I had to explain it to him again. And then I added to it to make it a little more fun, like hot potato, where, wherever I was hidden, I would tell him if I was warmer or colder, because he was looking for a certain object. The car at this point. We changed to cars because I wanted to mix it up, actually. So we switched switched toys and we switched games. And so he was Lightning McQueen and I was Ramon. So, I could do my Ramon voice for him. And so, I was Ramon and then Melanie was Doc. So she would hide and I would hide, and then he would have to come and find us, with the warmer and the colder. He really loved that. And he's asked since Saturday to play it several times. He wanted to do it again on Sunday and yesterday.
I was in the office adjacent to the room that you were in, and I could hear the excitement in his voice and how much fun he was having with that.
And he was getting it. It was really resonating. So I felt like Saturday was such a big win and victory. I don't know how much data she got to record, but I think she got to record some things, because we really were trying to get him engaged. Because when we've had his friends over here, his real friends, live friends, it's still a struggle for him to talk to them or to answer their questions if they ask him any.
Or
he'll
even
play
pay
beside
attention,
them. Yeah. All in all, he will play beside them. One play date that I had, it's 3 brothers. So I think that was a little overwhelming for him. Mm-hmm. I could see him like wanting to crawl into me. I was his safe space. And they were great. We all played Uno, but I could tell, and then I'm thinking about it, and, we don't really know what it's like in his world, but we have done enough studies and listened to people who are on the spectrum to share how they hear everything all at once and how sounds can just be overwhelming.
Sometimes they need to just check out to get peace.
Yeah. So I think that's what he was doing a couple times, because he's used to us or one-on-one, and that was a lot. But, we have a game plan for when they come back. It was kind of like a test run in my mind. I was observing how each of the boys were with him and also how Bryce was with each of the boys. And there's one of the brothers that I kind of sensed there was just a little more of a connection. Because I could just tell that he would go over. If I said, go do this with Bryce, he was right on it and would do that, which was great. So when they come the next time, Melanie, his ABA tech, is going to really focus on those two. Bryce with that little boy, and then I'll entertain the other brothers. And we'll still all do stuff together, but it's like us just coming up with these game plans, because I am definitely on this social mission for Bryce. I feel like that's my role, and you're his homeschool teacher, and we could go, we'll probably do actually we should do an episode soon and have him read something, because he's doing so well with school, which is a testament to both of you working so hard. For me, I'm just trying to work on the social part, because that's a whole job in itself.
Yes.
A whole different part of the brain and a whole different perspective of autism that Bryce struggles with, that we're just trying to help him learn more. Yeah. Adapt to all of that. So anyway, so that's what's been going on. So the main topic that I'll probably title this with is going to be about repetition, but repetitive questions. And I know there's some fancy terminology for it, and I've asked about that before, and I can't remember what it is. But it's basically Bryce will repeat the same questions over and over again. And sometimes it might not even be like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I'm not talking about that. He'll ask us a question. We'll answer it. And it might not be immediately that he asks again, but within 3 to 5 minutes, he's going to ask you that same question again, and you answer it. And then you give it a few more minutes, and then he's going to answer that question again. I
just started asking him the question back to him, and then he would say the answer.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you did. So I actually pulled up an article on it, which it was actually enlightening, because that's one of the things that they suggested, because we have done that. But they're giving me some reasons as to why he might be doing this. And I think the whole key to helping Bryce is the more we understand why he does what he does, the more opportunity we have to actually help him.
My first thought is he wants to have a conversation, but he doesn't know what to say. So he wants to have that communication with us, but maybe his only way of communicating is whatever was last on his mind, and he just wants to say it again.
That was on here too.
Okay.
I feel like we're on the right path, so it's really good. It's about dealing with repetitive questions. And it said, trouble expressing something, you can substitute a familiar question, because it may just be that he's desiring to communicate, but he doesn't know how to start or maintain a conversation. And I definitely think that applies to him. So they're saying that maybe we could give him a different question, but that it's a different familiar question. So
same subject, different question?
Maybe a different subject.
Or redirect.
Like
redirect.
Try to get him off something else. But you can, if he asks you, one of the examples that comes to my mind is when we finish music therapy on Fridays, he will ask us many questions over and over again about Miss Liz. He wants to know, where is Miss Liz? Where is Miss Liz? For hours. Where is Miss Liz, right? Or what is she eating for dinner? What is her phone number? Which we intentionally don't have, so we can honestly tell him we don't have it.
Right.
But, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? And that's probably, he'll fixate on whatever it is about her. So maybe next time if he says, where's Miss Liz, we can go, where's Mamaw?
Yeah.
Similar topic, different person, get his mind off that track. Because we know his mind can get, it's like we've described it before. It's like a broken record or a scratched record. That's what I should say. I'm showing my age here, but we had a record player when I was little. And if we had a record that had a scratch on it, we would put a nickel on top of the needle holder.
Yep.
And that extra weight would help it get past the scratch.
Yes.
So then the song would continue to play, right?
Yeah.
I think Bryce needs that extra nickel sometimes so that he can get past that scratch and continue to think.
Yeah.
Because he just gets stuck on that.
He does. He gets stuck on that. And I know you mentioned it to Melanie. Did Melanie have any input on that?
Nothing that I can think of real specifically, but I'm going to show her this article today. I know she's working on that with him. Actually, her input has been, if he will ask her the same questions over and over again, which he does, then she'll say, Bryce, I've already answered that question. Now we need to move on to the next one.
I've heard her say that.
And I've heard her say that too. And he responds to that. And then I've heard her say to him, Bryce, when he's asked for like the 5th time, and she'll go, Bryce, he goes, you've already answered that question. Let's move on to the next one. So he knew what she was going to say. But then here we go. So here's emotionally, he might be seeking reassurance of a safe activity. So he wants you to answer in a way with the answer that he already knows you're going to say, because it makes him feel safe. Because we've learned that with anxiety, it's that unpredictability that creates his anxiety. So if he's feeling any form of anxiety, he's going to ask questions that he can get answers that he already knows. That makes him feel like, okay, things aren't changing.
True.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow, that's a ding, 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 ding. I wish I had my bell. Yeah, so if he's asking the same question, he's expecting the same answer, and that will make him feel safe.
It makes him feel safe. It's giving him a form of security. So
Good
I thought
point.
that was very enlightening, which will help me, kind of figure out why, because we know you got to get behind why each behavior is occurring. So once they said short-term interventions, one suggestion was to write the answer on a piece of paper and then simply refer to the piece of paper each time he asked the question. So maybe this Friday, when we know that he's going to ask us the questions about Miss Liz, we'll have those answers already written out. And he likes to read right now.
I like that a lot.
So we'll write that out. And then when he asks us those questions, we'll say, here, and we'll give him the piece of paper, and then he can read
questions.
it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so I think we'll try that, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that's another one. Ding, ding, ding.
I know, right? I felt this was pretty cool. And then we could set a limit on the number of questions. And that is what Melody does. I think she gives him like 3 times, and then she'll say, okay, you've asked me 3 times, so he can kind of acknowledge a number.
So I think when he's asked the question a second time is when we introduce, okay, you've asked it 2 times and you only get to ask it 3 times.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So I think if we could do that, that would help him, because preparing him, again, is always helpful.
Otherwise, if you do it when he asks the first question, then you're kind of prompting him to do 2 more.
Yeah, that's the truth. And we don't want to do that.
Right.
So we could also give him a different topic choice. So we could say, okay, you can the balloon. We'll bring up the balloons. And this will be a good example. So in the past few weeks, Bryce has really, really struggled with balloons again. In fact, it's a little more than a few weeks, because when it was your birthday, he was very nervous that we were going to have balloons here for your birthday, because he associates birthdays and balloons together. And so when I told him, no, we're not having balloons for Daddy's birthday, I think, okay, that was a good answer. So we've been trying to work with him, because what happened was he had one and then it popped, and we got him over that. You went and we talked about this in the last episode, I think, and you went and got 3 different kinds. Well, we got him another one and it hit our ceiling, and we have these ceilings that have designs on it. So anyway, it hit a point and it popped. Inside. So the last time it popped outside. So that kind of set us back again.
So it's not safe inside either, is what he's thinking.
Right. So now we're saying, okay, we can blow up a balloon, but you can just let it go and it won't pop. He wouldn't let you and I do it, but he let Miss Melanie do it, and he took deep breaths. In fact, I did post that video on Facebook. It is, to me, one of the most amazing ABA videos.
Stunning.
Yeah. It was like perfect.
I listened to Miss Melanie, and she waited until he said the word yes before she did anything. Like, she would get his approval before she went to the next step. And if he didn't say yes, she would keep working on it until he had to admit, yes, it's okay. And then she would do the next step. It was really great to see. I mean, that was a perfect example.
It really is. And if you haven't seen it, I would encourage people to watch it. It's not, you'll find it on the Facebook page. She was teaching him to take the deep breaths. And he doesn't always do that. But he's learning that it helps him. And he did. He took his deep breaths. He worked right through it. He wanted to leave the room, but he didn't.
Right.
And they got through it. So it was a big victory. But then after that, he kept asking about the balloon. And is she going to do it again? And then he was worried that, okay, when is she going to do it again? And we had friends over and we said, no, she can't blow the balloon again until after they're gone. And I think his mind was on that most of the time they were here, because as soon as they were gone, it was like, okay, bye. Can you blow the balloon? You know? But he kept asking about it. So when he gets in a situation like that and he keeps asking us about a particular topic, let's say, okay, we've already talked about the balloons. Remember, I gave you the answer and we can repeat it. Now let's talk about, and let's give, because he likes choices, let's give him 2 or 3 other choices for another topic. That way we're not shutting him down for wanting to have conversation with us, because that is the last thing we want to do.
Right.
We want to encourage him to talk to us. We just have to help him understand that he needs to mix up the topics and talk about different things. And when I read that about giving him choices, I thought, oh, that does fit with Bryce, because he does like it when he gives him a little bit of control, which reduces the anxiety. And then he can kind of know what the next, he does, because it lets him know what's coming. And when he knows what's coming, then it reduces his anxiety. I think so much of this is rooted to anxiety. So, and then you mentioned the redirecting to a different topic, which is what we're talking about, and with choices, which is good. Because again, this article says you should not feel the child should never feel punished because they're trying to interact with you.
Right.
So you can't shut them down, And sometimes you might want to say, oh, my word, you have asked me that 15 times and I don't think I can answer that again. But he's so sensitive, I could not ever tell him that because really he would shut down. So, you have to just kind of figure out that way to get him redirected there. But you mentioned reversing the question, and that is also a recommendation, which we do that fairly often. If he's asked me 2 or 3 times,
and
I'll say,
knows the answer.
And they say he just wants to do that. And if he answers that, he's just like trying to reduce his stress or his anxiety. So I think we should probably just pay attention to see if there's something else. Why is he doing it? If we can get behind the why, is he feeling stressed, or is he just really wanting to keep us involved in a conversation, what's going on there. But I thought that was good. And then I think the last thing that I noted on here, and it did ring a bell with me, says work with the speech therapist to introduce scripted formulas to help with conversations. And while I don't want him to be completely scripted, but we are working on when he greets somebody, like when someone comes to the house, what is he supposed to say to a friend? Hey, I'm happy to see you. Or, hey, I'm glad you're here, right? And when they leave, we don't want him to just say bye. We want him to say, thanks for coming.
Thanks for playing.
I want to see you again. See you next time.
Right.
Something that a other child would say and not what a scripted
like
adult would say. Yeah, we don't want him to be robotic. But unfortunately, Bryce isn't wired to come up with his own transcript.
Right.
So we have to give him some words. But I was wondering, do you know, are his speech therapists, because I know he has 2 of them, are they working with him on conversational skills at all?
I don't know. I have not checked with them in the last weeks to see exactly what they're working on.
So I think let's pose that question to them just so we know if they are working on any conversational skills, and if they are, what methods are they using, so then we can also share with them what we're using here at home with ABA and with them, and kind of get us all on that same page. So I hadn't thought about that before until I read it, but we definitely should all be, which is our main goal.
Yeah,
but I think that would be good.
Work on greetings and goodbyes.
That's what I'm thinking. And I want him to have a variety. I don't want it to be, again, robotic. I feel like sometimes it's like Alexa or Siri, and what you put in is exactly what you're going to get out. And I at some point, I'm hoping and praying he'll come up with his own natural response. And sometimes he does. Sometimes he'll say things, and I don't know where he got it from. It makes me laugh. It didn't come from me. And he may have picked it up from a video, but if he uses it in the appropriate context, great.
Right.
Because we all usually repeat something that we've heard from somewhere that we've learned it.
Yeah.
But, that was something that I thought was really interesting.
Cool.
That was it. That was my big.
Wow! All right.
I thought that was a lot of good points.
That is a lot of good points on that. I think we landed on a few winners on that article, and I just want to do a little sidebar here since it sounds like you've covered.
I'm rapping, baby.
So I just have to say we're toward the end of the kindergarten year, and I found this game. It's called Are You Ready for First Grade Game Show?
It's awesome.
And Bryce, he likes quizzes. He likes answering questions and getting them right. So this was right up his alley. It comes with like this, I don't know, wall or whatever, and then you put the cards onto the wall, and they're worth different dollar amounts. So you have a language column, a math column, and a challenge column. So you get to choose which column and which thing you want to read. So you turn it over, you read the question, and you answer the questions. And then if you get the question right, you put it in the right pile. If it gets wrong, then you put it in the incorrect pile. So, and then he gets paid the amount of money, fake money. It comes with fake money, which kind of looks like real money. But dollar bills, he gets paid for each question that he answers correctly. And he gets so excited because he's saving up for this airplane museum we're going to go to. And he says he wants to buy something there. So he was all excited about that too. And one other feature of that is when you're all done tallying up the score, you can go online to this website, plug in the questions that he got wrong, and they'll tell you what he needs to work on
That's
to get
fabulous.
them right. So it's from Lakeshore Learning. I think they have their own website, Lakeshore Learning, and it's called Are You Ready for First Grade Game Show? And I think it was a little expensive, but it comes with a lot of goodies. And after we're done with it, I'm sure we can turn it around for somebody else,
Oh, yeah. He's so connected to this in a big way. And it is neat. And they got the cards valued for $1, $2, $3, and $5, depending
for the
on
challenge card.
And so I found, and they have it in segments. So you got like 6 different sections. It does take a good hour or so to go through them.
Yeah.
The other night, he was wanting to play it at like bedtime, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way I can't do this. I'm going to go nuts. But he loves it. We took it to my parents so that they could see him playing that. Mm-hmm. They were so impressed with just how much that he knew. And it's a variety of things.
And he was trying really hard to read the questions himself, which he got through a lot of them without help.
I was so amazed as to how well he's reading words that he hasn't memorized.
Yes.
They look familiar to him, or sometimes he takes a stab, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But he's sounding it out, he's recognizing that, and his reading has really become so fluent. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the reasons I picked that up was you search online, is my kid ready for first grade? Yeah. Your county or your state has their own standards and all this. So in my vast search for is he ready for first grade, that's what I came across, and I'm glad I did.
We've come to the conclusion that he's ready for first grade because he's rocking it.
First grade,
which is very exciting.
We're going to continue school through the summer.
Yes.
So we're finishing up kindergarten science right now, which
he
is very
Science.
surprising. I mean,
I can't believe it's kindergarten.
Some of the things they're talking about, I mean, I'm like, really? This is kindergarten? I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in kindergarten, but I don't remember that stuff. But anyway, after we finish science, we're going to go right back into language and math.
Yeah, well, I think, for Bryce, it's good to keep him into a routine of sorts and to keep him fresh. And he enjoys it and he loves it. It is kind of funny because for the first time, he has the concept of a holiday because we had Memorial Day.
Right.
And it was on a Monday. And so I'm working from home. So he knows now, like, I didn't work that day. And I said, okay, I don't have any Team IP today. And you don't have any school today because you were gone anyway.
Right.
And I said, we're going to go visit Mama and Papa. It's a holiday. What is a holiday? So I explained it. You don't have to work. You don't have to go to school. So the next Monday, he's like, is it a holiday? I'm like, no, this isn't a holiday. So now he keeps asking us randomly, when's the next holiday? On Monday? No, it's July 4th, but I think we'll celebrate on the 3rd. So I'm like, hey, he's got the concept.
Yeah.
He enjoyed having a day off. And I don't even think that he had a day off because he does enjoy school, but he knows he gets our attention so much more in a playful way and not in a work way when we have a holiday. So it's kind of cool that he's figured that out.
I think if he was in a public school, he would look forward to the summer break but he is enjoying Daddy's school
Yep.
so much that we're just going to cruise right through.
Yeah, and we have we have
Plus,
some travel planned, and he gets
yeah.
those days off when we travel.
And I've said this before, I anticipate at some point he will struggle with school. Mm-hmm. And the more we can get ahead, so to speak, right now, the better. So when he does come upon those speed bumps, that we can slow down, pause,
dig in.
let's really grasp this whatever concept that he's having trouble with, and we won't feel like we're getting behind doing it.
Right. I think it's a great plan, and it's working well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Well, I think
Episode 44.
44 is about in the books. Everything's good here, and we'll be back in another week or two, I'm sure, to share more. We're actually going to go on a trip.
Yep.
We're going to North Dakota this time for my birthday.
Yep.
And that should be fun. And we're thankful that you didn't break your foot, because we were a little concerned about traveling with a broken foot. But we'll be going up there. We're doing the airplane museum that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. I also found a rail yard for trains.
That should be cool.
That they go to, yeah. So there should be a lot of train activity through the town that we're staying in. So, yeah.
And that's, it's Wells.
No, it's not Wells.
Why do I say Wells Fargo? Because it's Fargo.
It's Fargo.
I know. It's Fargo, North Dakota. It's so funny. Fargo, North Dakota. So if anybody's listening, that is from Fargo, North Dakota.
Or has been there.
And you have any recommendations for us, please reach out to us and let us know. Because honestly, I only picked it because I heard they had it was a cool little town. It's state number 49 for me. It's near the Minnesota line, so we can drive over so Chris can check Minnesota off his box.
Yep.
And but that's it. We really don't know what else we're doing. We found that museum, which I knew Bryce would like.
It'll be a nice, short, quick trip.
Yeah, we're there
fun.
3 nights.
Yeah.
It'll be just enough to get a feel and a flavor for it, and it'll be fun.
Awesome.
But anyway, so we'll be back probably after that trip to share some more. And for now, we hope you take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.